The Arrival. In the quiet English countryside, at the edge of a forgotten village, stood an ancient manor named Greystone House. For the last 20 years, its only resident had been Mrs. Edith Marrow, a frail but sharp-eyed woman in her late 80s. The villagers whispered that Edith was once a nurse who tended to soldiers during the war. But what made them fearful was that none of Edith's relatives or visitors ever stayed for long. They always left, strangely silent and pale, or never left at all. One stormy night, a stranger came knocking. A young man named Simon Clay, a writer from London, needed shelter after his car broke down on the old road. Edith, dressed in her black gown and smelling faintly of lavender and dust, opened the door and smiled kindly. "You may stay the night," she said, "but only one night. Greystone is not a place for lingering souls." Grateful and curious, Simon accepted. The house with secrets. The house smelled of old books, burning wood, and something else, something iron-like and sharp. The walls were lined with portraits, soldiers, nurses, children, but they all seemed wrong. Their eyes were too real, following Simon as he walked the corridors. In the sitting room, a strange clock ticked, but never moved its hands. The time was forever frozen at 3:17 a.m. That evening, as Mrs. Marrow prepared tea, Simon explored. In the cellar, he found an old hospital bed, dusty but stained dark brown. Beside it were jars, rows of them, each labeled with names and dates. They contained locks of hair, small bones, teeth. Before he could investigate more, Edith's voice echoed softly behind him. "Curiosity," she whispered, "is the seed of tragedy." Midnight Revelations. That night, as the wind howled and rain lashed the windows, Simon awoke to whispers, hundreds of voices murmuring from the walls. He followed the sound to the study, where he found Edith sitting by the fire, knitting something dark red. "You shouldn't wander, dear," she said without turning. "It disturbs them." "Who?" Simon asked. She chuckled. "My guests, the ones who never left. You see, when the war ended, I had no one, no husband, no child, so I made my own family. Every poor soul who came here, they stayed, in spirit, in bone." Simon stepped back, heart racing. Edith smiled wider, her teeth far too white. "I keep them safe, in jars, in walls, in the clock. They talk to me. They keep me company." A floorboard creaked behind Simon. Simon bolted, tearing through the hallway, past the portraits whose eyes bled tears. He stumbled into the kitchen, where a trap door yawned open to the basement below. Edith's voice echoed, gentle but steel-sharp. "You can't leave. Not yet. You'd make a fine addition to my collection. So young, so healthy." Simon grabbed a fire iron and struck the old clock. The glass shattered, and the hand spun wildly. The walls trembled. The whispers turned to wails. "No!" Edith shrieked, but she seemed frozen, her knitting unraveling into smoke. Simon fled into the storm. As he reached the gate, the manor behind him groaned, crumbled, and collapsed into dust. Its spirits finally freed. In the distance, the village lights flickered awake for the first time in decades. The final twist. A week later, Simon was recovering in a hospital. The doctors told him Greystone House had been abandoned for 50 years after a fire claimed its last resident, Nurse Edith Marrow, who had gone mad after losing her husband in the war. No survivors, no visitors since then, they said. Simon shivered. In his coat pocket, he found something he didn't remember taking. A small glass jar. Inside, a lock of his own hair. And faintly, just faintly, he heard the ticking of a broken clock. 3:17 a.m. The end.